August 2nd, 2014. Guys, with this Ebola problem coming into the United States, I want to go over a couple things, and we talked about it. Some of the other guys are talking about it. But Friday, before the plane left, Obama ran in and changed Section B of this. We need to kind of pay attention. But this is the one from April 4th in 03 that George Bush signed. And it says, based upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Health and Human Services in consultation with the Surgeon General and for the purpose of specifying certain communicable diseases for regulation providing for the apprehension, detention, or conditional release of individuals to prevent the introduction, transmission, or spread of suspected communicable diseases. The following communicable diseases are hereby specified and pursuant to Section 361. B. That's the one that we're going to look at that was changed. Notice Ebola was mentioned then in 03. Now, here's the part that was changed. It says, President Obama signed this into law. Severe acute respiratory syndromes, which are the diseases that are associated with fever and signs and symptoms of pneumonia or other respiratory illnesses, are capable of being transmitted from person to person, and that either are causing or, here's a change, have the potential. Who's going to determine that? To cause a pandemic or upon infection, are highly likely to cause mortality or serious morbidity if not properly controlled. Now, this is saying there will be a couple people that can determine if you are sick, and that's what they're talking about. They can say, well, you may have been exposed, may not be, but we're going to need to lock you up. Now, they've flown it into Atlanta. They have a level 2 laboratory, and I think this is really supposed to be a level 4 disease control situation. And the guy walks into the hospital. Did you guys catch that? Gets out of the ambulance with some little plastic boots on, walks across the concrete into the hospital. What happened to the quarantine thing that the mainstream news kept pushing for 2 or 3 days there with the quarantine tents and things in the airplane? Remember that? Now, what's even more dangerous, and this is almost unbelievable to me, but this doctor that's been over-treating patients returned to the U.S. on the 25th. He came back into Jameson, Tennessee, you guys that live in that area, and put himself in quarantine, just in his house. His daughter picked him up at the airport. Now, what kind of deal is that? Where is she at? It takes 21 days for symptoms to appear. That would be August 11th. But he says his family's staying out of the house. They're coming and leaving some food for her, and he goes out and gets it. Where's the daughter? Where are the passengers? Where are the attendants of that flight? Where's Homeland Security? But guys, we've seen this from Sandy Hook and other gun control scenarios. They would be all over this guy. It's obvious that they want this to spread so they can bring about their Fema medical state prisons. And some cities may become that. But it says that he last encountered a patient on July 19th. Again, that gives you to the 11th. I contacted the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention on my arrival and informed them I've been in West Africa in my history. I've been with Ebola patients. Do you think I need to be quarantined? No, I'll go home. Let your daughter ride around. So the father said his daughter picked him up from the airport and dropped him at home, where he's had quarantined himself and had no contact with anyone else since. But they're going to make laws to where they can lock everybody up if they even suspect it. Can you just staying at home? I'm feeling normal and doing the typical things a person would do in their home. I have my family who can bring me food if I need anything, and they would not enter the house. They can leave it outside. Again, where are the tents? Where's the quarantine? Jameson, Tennessee, you may be one of the first big FEMA camps, you in Atlanta. But Ebola spreads through contact with organs, bodily fluid, blood, saliva, urine, and other secretions of infected people. That's how you get it. Now, different viruses and different diseases have a way of mutating. They're aware of this, but guys, you know what's really going on here? It's got to do with control and money. Now, when asked about the new bill, this was the response from the Center of Disease Control. It said, isolation and quarantine are public health practices used to stop or limit the spread of disease. If you go down to quarantine, it says it is used to separate and restrict the movement of well persons who may have been exposed to communicable disease to see if they become ill. We're going to lock up we'll just roadblock the city, put martial law in there. Or they may have the disease but do not show symptoms. Quarantine can also help limit the spread. Of course it can. We understand that. But then why are you not being more careful? Because you don't want to be. This is about billions of dollars and millions of lives. Now, what's happened is Germany has also agreed to take patients. Why? Because of Big Pharma, guys. Right now, they're still in court over who gets the patent for the SARS vaccine and things like that. The U.S. is going to try to find it. Germany's going to try to find it. Every other nation's going to see that billions are involved. And they're going to get involved. You understand what's happening? Now look at Congress, where they at. Senate, gone 5 weeks, guys. Plenty of time for this to spread. Plenty of time for executive action to go down. Plenty of time for them to hide away. They know that we're near the end times. But the Department of Defense informed Congress that it had deployed biological diagnostic systems to National Guard support teams in all 50 states. It says this report was published this April. According to a report by the Committee on Armed Services, said that amid growing fears that the Ebola hemorrhagic fever virus might spread outside of West Africa, says that the portable systems are designed for low probability, high consequence scenarios. Some 340 joint biological agent identification and diagnostic systems units have thus far been given to emergency response personnel. The systems are rapid, reliable, and provide simultaneous identification of scientific biological agents and pathogens. Now, this is Carmen Spencer, Executive Officer of DOD's Chemical and Biological Defense Group. Guys, you see who's going to be controlling this? We've been talking about it, the National Guard. What does that mean? They are set up for the spread. Things are not looking very good for the people of this nation and of the world, to be quite honest. Here's your CDC quarantine stations in the U.S., marked in the yellow dots. They're there. They're set up. The one in Atlanta, again, level 2. I think it should be a minimum 4. But now, look at your National Guard in every state. Look at the spread of these government camps. They can use old warehouses, whatever it takes. This is where I was talking about you guys in Hamburg. Agreed to accept patients following requests from who? Doctors assure the utmost precautions will be taken to make sure the disease does not spread during treatment. The patients will be kept in an isolation ward behind several airlocks, and doctors and nurses will wear bodysuits with their every oxygen supplies, with their own oxygen supplies that will be burned every 3 hours. That's how dangerous this is. But we got a doctor in Tennessee sitting at home. Each country is risking the life of millions to get the first patented Ebola vaccine worth billions. Why did they bring them to Emory? So they can find this vaccine, so that Big Pharma, who the politicians are probably heavily invested in, can make billions. At the same time, make sure the Georgia Guidestone is followed very carefully and keep the population down and control everything. Our president is jokingly saying his term is short. He won't be here very much longer, unless martial law is declared, ends the elections. It's a heads up, guys. This is just getting crazier by the minute. But one thing's for sure. God is in control. And if you remember when Pharaoh was going to kill all of the Hebrew children, what happened? God killed all the firstborn of Egypt. What does that mean? It means when you decide to bring a deadly plague down on God's people, He turns it around on you. I hope you guys are listening, because you politicians and groups that have voted this in and let these laws come in and let Ebola come in here, don't you think it can touch your families too? Don't you know that's how God works? Heads up, be safe.